Ladies and gentlemen, I'm just going back to all the articles that were relevant that I shared on the channel. At the time, I was going through what I think was the am I crazy phase. But in life, when you've had enough experience dealing with what I think is a very close minded sect of folk, and you know and you understand that the truth and the reality is actually in front of you, opposition doesn't necessarily, deter you. I was very, very young and I experienced this firsthand. It was a very stupid story, but among boys, you know how we young people can be, quite frivolous and foolish, right? I remember one, year, I had met a soccer player's younger brother who basically managed his estate. This was when I lived in Nigeria. This soccer player lived overseas. Now, any of you who's Nigerian, you know how loaded these cats were compared to everybody else, right? So I went to hang out with them one day because apparently this younger brother was actually dating one of a relative of ours. So he took me out. I was basically like his wingman in a sense so that he could warm up to this young lady. And I kind of knew the setup. I'm like, I'm in my early teenage years. So I'm like, oh, he likes this lady. She's related to me. He takes me out for ice cream. He's spoiling me so that I may go home and say, oh, this is a great guy. I kind of knew that. And a lot of you, yeah, sit back. Let me give you the story. So we go hang out and, I'm seeing like a lot of stuff in this house that's been built. It's a really solid house. And there's something that really strikes my attention. It's a Sony Discman. You guys know the Discman. Okay, yeah. The other day, by the way, crazy story. The other day I saw, a student with a Walkman. I about fell over. I was like, who gave you gold? Anyways, the Discman was able to read the tracks in the album. So Mariah Carey, I think Butterfly, that album, whenever you put it in this Discman on a small digital display, it will go track one and show the name of the track. Now, some of you are like, yeah, that's like old technology, but it was a thing there. But bro, we hadn't seen that. Okay. We grown up in Africa. So I see this thing. I go back to school, to boarding school, and I tell my guys, they told me I was lying. I had to, for weeks, defend this thing that they could not see. And every time it was met with skepticism until some other people started to go and say, hold on, we've seen technology like this in car stereo systems. And eventually it came out that, okay, I wasn't losing my mind. So when I was telling people that, Xbox, right, acquiring Activision Blizzard King was going to pretty much rent PlayStation from the inside, I thought I was losing my mind. But in the last few years, the data has piled up so much. I now go back and feel that euphoria that I felt as a teenage boy, that I was actually on track. And I'm grateful. I'm humbled that I can beat my chest and all that, but that's not what you do. That part of being, wow, whew, thank God. Because I could have been deemed a fufu. Fufu. That's when someone doesn't want to call you a fool in Nigeria. They call you the food. Xbox corporate vice president Sarah Bond has claimed that Activision Blizzard demanded Microsoft provide a larger revenue share to put Call of Duty games on the platform, according to a new report from IGN. This news comes from yesterday's court trial between Xbox and Activision Blizzard King and the Federal Trade Commission over Microsoft's attempted acquisition of Activision Blizzard. Bond claimed in court that in the lead up to the launch of the PlayStation 5 and Series X and S generation of the hardware in 2020, Activision Blizzard CEO Bobby Kotick said his company did not intend to put Call of Duty, presumably new and upcoming ones, on Xbox platform unless Microsoft shared more revenue. Is that right? Y'all see it? 20 years of PlayStation sales data. We need to see Xboxes. It will look very similar. A year ago, we wanted to show that Call of Duty was launching on Xbox. We were told we could not say it on YouTube or any other place where customers who were not our own customers could see it, and we had to hold for a period of time, she said, noting that marketing it on Xbox's website and social media accounts was acceptable. There had always been a conspiracy to, bludgeon Xbox. Y'all feel me? It's not that, Kotick hated Xbox or whatever it is. It's just as money's aligned, right? PlayStation was always probably very profitable, maybe had been sweetening the deal, but Xbox seems like they were getting sidelined. And this is not just an uncommon practice. I mean, we all saw the Crimson Desert thing, right? Where the Crimson Desert developers basically came out and said they wanted an exclusivity deal that blocked Xbox. PlayStation had not reached this point, but here's the problem. They are not Nintendo. This wasn't Mario. This was an asset that could at any point be snatched from the person that wasn't looking properly. But when we film a showcase, that is, people can watch it live on YouTube and other places. At the end, wanted to put up a slate that said, here are all the games coming to next year. We were told we could not say Call of Duty was coming next year. Do you know how is there a word? Deleterious? There it is. Do you know how deleterious this is for a company that wants to sell your game, but you're like, nah, only your competitor can say that. Bro, this is like a marketing stunt. I just can't imagine how much this company basically got sidetracked. But Satya Nadella, I know the hardcore Xbox fans were insulting what I think is probably the most genius CEO out there. You see, I have to be very honest. Those people who were insulting this man and were talking a bunch of nonsense, many of them have backed down now, but at the time, their foolishness was very apparent. Let's just admit it. There was foolishness there. We're grown. We can admit stupidity and foolishness. And they were foolish. Because when the guy said, and when they were about to go to court for the Activision Blizzard King trial, he said, if it's competition they want, then let's compete. I told you that when he said that thing, that hairs on Jim Ryan's body probably stood up. Y'all said I was crazy. That's what you told me. Because when the guy went with let us compete, y'all don't understand that there is a deeper cultural connotation to that from somebody who says to you, who is from that region of the world, if it's competition you want, let us compete, and you didn't take that seriously, cooked were you. This is just to say that this corporate battle thing, I'm all for it, that they bludgeon each other so that I get the best possible deal out of it, because I only care about the customer. I couldn't be bothered about what it is that they're doing in their own little bubble. But man, when I saw the smoke and I saw the sauce, I was like, man, we're going to eat. And I knew it because I knew we were going to eat, because now the stranglehold that PlayStation had on the console space in that particular bubble was basically relinquished. Actually, it was snatched out of their hands. Actually, they gave it up. They actually put it in the mail, and they put a bow and a ribbon on it, and they packaged it good, and they mailed it into Microsoft HQ. That was it. Now, there are people who enjoyed PlayStation's so-called domination. But you see, that's the problem. Their domination was not based on something that belonged to them. And this is why Xbox now has not only one, but a double upper hand. Because now they own a platform that is already positioned to dominate with its flexibility, its open nature, and its nature of compatibility, and convenience for the customer. And now they also own that thing that PlayStation had flexed with for multiple years. I think this is probably why agencies like Sean Layden does not like Xbox's own approach. Because now they've not only now owned it, they've trivialized it and given it to their customers. This is why you're going to continue to see, or you did see, a lot of anti-Xbox rhetoric in the conversation. Some people have even claimed that allegedly PlayStation has a lot of links into the media with some partnerships that it's actually had out there. And that might as well be the truth. Right? But ladies and gentlemen, let's not be fooled. Let's not be fooled. They struck at the heart of something that was already sitting there via an opportunity. It was a perfect time for them to capitalize on it, and I think they did. They saw blood in the water, and they were going to go for this deal anyways. They were going to fight it. They could have stayed 10 years trying to acquire this crap. Thanks for watching the video. Peace out.